shocking that the department did not redact the names of Epstein's victims, but it did redact the names of their abusers. I don't know whether this was done out of incompetence or whether it was deliberate and malicious, but either way, it is completely unacceptable. Even more troubling, the DOJ has failed to bring any of these perpetrators to justice. Instead, it has engaged in a relentless pursuit of Donald Trump's perceived enemies. I want to focus on just one example. The Attorney General of my home state of New York, Tish James. This DOJ has been hell-bent on securing an indictment against Ms. James for something, anything, simply because she held Donald Trump's companies accountable for years of financial fraud. And indeed, the department manufactured an investigation against her for alleged, quote, mortgage fraud. But the U.S. attorney leading the investigation, Eric Siebert, a Trump appointee, refused to bring charges against Ms. James because there was simply no evidence. Unfortunately, a prosecutor who refuses to do Trump's bidding has no place in this DOJ, so Mr. Siebert was forced out. Trump could not contain his fury that he expressed to you in a social media post addressed to you by name. I'm sure you've seen it. Quote, I fired him and there is a great case, he wrote to you about Mr. Siebert. Then we moved down. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. And obviously, you followed that order. Lindsay Halligan, Trump's former defense lawyer who had never prosecuted a case in her life, was installed to replace Mr. Siebert, and it was clear that part of her mandate was to go after Ms. James. Halligan immediately sought an indictment, which the court dismissed because Halligan was illegally put into the role. But your department was undeterred, and not once, but twice, it tried to indict Attorney General James in separate courts. Both grand juries rejected you and refused to indict her. It is practically unheard of for a grand jury to refuse an indictment. In 2016, it happened in just 6 cases out of over 150,000 offenses. And you had it happen twice in the same week, in 2 different courts. That must have been humiliating. And now there are reports that you are continuing to investigate her. The amount of resources that have gone into targeting Attorney General James, months of investigations, multiple failed indictments, is astounding. Since your own prosecutors told you that there is not enough evidence to support a conviction, it's clear that you were going after her simply because she held President Trump accountable and he wants to punish her. And she is just one name on a long list of Trump political enemies that DOJ is reportedly targeting, from Jerome Powell and Lisa Cook at the Federal Reserve to James Comey, numerous Democratic members of Congress, John Brennan, Jack Smith, Democratic officials in Minnesota, Chris Krebs, Miles Taylors, and more. And those are just the ones we know about. In contrast to these politically motivated investigations, grasping at something they can charge their enemies with, we now have concrete evidence of disgusting criminality revealed in the Epstein files. So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
Reclaiming my time.
I think it's very interesting.
And you can
that
reclaim
he
your
talks
time,
about they
reclaiming my time,
indicted.
Mr.
The
Chairman.
president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will get in order.
theatrics.
The time belongs to
time
the
and
gentleman
roll back
from
the
New
clock,
York.
please.
We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when
Reclaiming
you ask
my-
a question, the witness
question
gets to
was-
answer. You may not like the answer, but she
Right.
gets to
The
answer.
question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like
Que-
the answer,
Reclaiming
Chairman,
my time.
because it's honest.
Reclaiming-
So he asked a
Reclaiming my
4-minute
time.
question.
Restore 45
and
seconds to
I
Mr.
am
Nadler,
going
please,
to
Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch.
Reclaiming-
Not on our time. No way.
Reclaiming-
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I
Not a
said that
few more,
already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler. Go
All
right
right.
ahead.
My time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0. You have been the Attorney General for a whole year, and your DOJ fired the lead prosecutor of this case, sat on evidence this entire time, and claimed falsely last July that there were no more leads. It took an act of Congress for you to finally release part of the Epstein files, and when you did, you included personal information about the victims while protecting the names of abusers.
Time of the gentleman
None
has
of the perpetrators have
expired.
been brought to justice, but enormous resources
Time
have been
of the
dedicated to
gentleman has
pursuing Trump's
expired,
enemies.
and
It's
obviously
clear
there
that
was-
under your leadership, the Department of Justice
There
no
was
longer
no
works
question
for American
in there
people. It works
for her to
for Donald
respond to.
Trump. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
May I answer?
I think our next questioner, Madam Attorney General, is going to give you time to respond to
Thank you, Chairman.
all kinds of things. So we will turn to the gentleman from Texas for 5 minutes.
Ms. Bondi, you go right ahead. I'm over here. The time is yours.
Thank you. First, he brought up the president saying they indicted me twice. They sure did. They tried to impeach him twice. And you, Mr. Nadler, were one of the leads on the impeachment. I was on the other side. I lived that with you. During impeachment, you said the president conspired, sought foreign interference in the 2016 election. Robert Mueller found no evidence, none, of foreign interference in 2016. Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized to President Trump, all of you who participated in those impeachment hearings against Donald Trump? You all should be apologizing. You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. You know, all they want to do, the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan,
Committee will be in order.
Mr. Jordan, am I going to get an extra 45 seconds added to my time?
The committee will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas. Ms. Bondi, the Attorney General can respond.
Thank you. The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. National median rents have fallen to a 4-year low thanks to Donald Trump. That's why they want to focus on Epstein and our most transparent president in the nation's history. The murder rate, as I said, has plummeted to a 125-year low thanks to Donald Trump. For an unprecedented 9 straight months, there were 0 illegal border crossings at the southern border. That's what we should be focused on. All the great work that this president has done and will continue to do to keep America safe and to make Americans safe.
Nadler started strong, acknowledging the survivors in the room for their bravery in speaking out about the horrific abuse. He said they deserved far better from the Department of Justice. What followed hit hard. He pointed to decisions that left many stunned, like how victim names stayed exposed in release files while those of alleged abusers got shielded. Whether that came from mistakes or something more intentional, Nadler called it unacceptable. Even more concerning, he argued, was the lack of charges against those connected to Epstein's activities. Instead, resources seemed directed elsewhere, chasing cases tied to figures who had gone after Donald Trump in the past. One name stood out in his examples: New York Attorney General Letitia James. He laid out claims that the DOJ had gone all in on targeting James simply because she had held Trump's companies accountable for financial issues years earlier. Reports described an investigation into alleged mortgage matters, but the lead prosecutor, a Trump appointee named Eric Siebert, reportedly saw no solid evidence and refused to move forward. That decision supposedly led to his removal. Trump himself posted publicly, urging action and expressing frustration over delays. Soon after, a new prosecutor with ties to Trump's circle stepped in. Indictment attempts followed, but grand juries pushed back, twice in quick succession, which is extremely rare. Nadler highlighted statistics showing how uncommon such rejections are, calling the whole effort a sign of misplaced priorities. Months of work, multiple tries, and still no conviction, all while Epstein-related leads seemed to sit on the back burner. That wasn't the only example on the table. Nadler mentioned a wider list of individuals and officials reportedly under scrutiny, from Federal Reserve figures to former intelligence leaders and Democratic members of Congress. The pattern, according to his view, showed energy pouring into cases against perceived opponents while Epstein's network escaped full accountability. Reports claim concrete details had emerged in the files, yet indictments remained at zero for co-conspirators. Nadler demanded straight answers. How many had been charged, and how many investigations were truly active? The back and forth grew intense, with claims of filibustering and time disputes filling the chamber. It painted a picture of deep frustration boiling over in real time. Bondi wasn't about to stay silent. She reclaimed the moment, reminding everyone that the Epstein matter stretched back through multiple administrations, including the Obama years. She noted that Donald Trump had signed legislation pushing for full releases, leading to over 3 million pages of documents becoming public. That level of openness, she argued, set a new standard for transparency. Bondi questioned why similar pressure hadn't come during prior years when other leaders held the reins. She pointed to the current administration's results, record stock market highs, dropping rents, and falling crime rates, as proof of focus on what Americans care about most. Why dwell only on old scandals, she suggested, when real progress was happening on safety and the economy? Her tone stayed defiant, refusing to let the narrative shift without context. The files themselves tell a massive story. Under the new push, the DOJ unloaded huge batches including documents, images, and videos detailing Epstein's operations and connections. Diagrams mapped out inner circles, naming known associates like Ghislaine Maxwell, who faced conviction, alongside others such as recruiters and employees. Some lists flagged potential co-conspirators from earlier probes, though many details stayed redacted for various reasons. Officials stressed efforts to protect survivor information, but errors drew sharp criticism. Victims' private details reportedly slipped through in places, while certain high-profile references faced different treatment. This fueled ongoing rumors about who might still be shielded and why full justice has lagged despite the document flood. Reports suggest investigations continue into possible additional crimes, but public updates on charges have been limited. Speculation has swirled for years around the extent of Epstein's network. Online discussions and released materials mention prominent names from politics, business, and entertainment appearing in logs, emails, or flight records. Figures like former presidents, billionaires, and international personalities show up, though many connections involve social or travel overlaps without proven involvement in wrongdoing. Rumors suggest hidden layers of influence, with some claiming powerful interests work to limit fallout. Others point to unverified allegations that surfaced in the dumps, warning they need careful verification. It's been said that certain leads from 2019 probes pointed to unnamed individuals, yet follow-through has sparked debate. Neutral observers note that inclusion in files doesn't equal guilt, but the lack of more prosecutions keeps curiosity alive and frustrations high among those seeking closure for survivors. Transitions between administrations added more layers. Earlier efforts under different leadership faced accusations of slow walking or downplaying the scale. The Trump-era push for releases marked a shift, with Bondi emphasizing commitment to lifting veils on the network. Yet critics, including lawmakers, argued that real accountability meant pursuing every viable lead aggressively, not just releasing paperwork. Hearings like this one exposed the divide. Democrats stressing victim justice and potential cover-ups, Republicans highlighting past inaction and current economic gains as the true measure of leadership. The clash with Nadler exemplified that tension, turning procedural questions into a broader referendum on priorities at the highest levels. What stands out most is the human cost that keeps resurfacing. Survivors have shown incredible strength coming forward, sharing experiences that shocked the public. Their calls for comprehensive action resonate because the files revealed patterns of exploitation spanning years and locations. Challenges remain in separating fact from noise in such a vast release. Some documents include hearsay or press clippings that complicate the picture. Still, the core issues, protecting the vulnerable and holding enablers responsible, cut through the politics. Reports claim additional probes are active, with U.S. attorneys examining ties for possible charges. Whether those yield results could define the coming months in this saga. As the hearing wrapped, the exchanges lingered in minds across the country. Bondi defended her department's record, pointing to transparency milestones and arguing against selective outrage. Nadler and allies maintained that zero indictments on co-conspirators after significant time in office raised serious questions. This was an abstract debate. It touched on trust in institutions, the influence of wealth and power, and whether justice applies equally. Viewers following the story see echoes of larger patterns. How scandals involving the elite often drag on, leaving ordinary people wondering if full truth will ever emerge. The released materials provide volumes of data, yet many feel the most critical parts still demand deeper scrutiny. Digging further, the Epstein network's reach involved complex financial and social ties that complicated prosecutions. Associates handled logistics, while others appeared in peripheral roles. Historical plea deals, like the 2008 arrangement, shielded some from earlier accountability, drawing later criticism. Recent file drops included internal memos and presentations outlining potential targets, but outcomes have varied. Public pressure continues, with bipartisan voices in some cases calling for more. Rumors persist about additional names or evidence tucked away, though officials maintain compliance with transparency laws. The balance between releasing information and safeguarding ongoing work creates natural tension. Economic and safety achievements under the current leadership provided Bondi's counter-narrative. She highlighted record Dow levels, reduced rents, and historic drops in certain crime statistics. These points shifted focus to deliverables affecting daily life, suggesting that dwelling solely on Epstein distracted from bigger wins. Critics countered that core functions like pursuing serious criminal networks shouldn't take a back seat. The hearing illustrated how quickly discussions pivot between policy substance and personal accusations. Both sides accuse the other of grandstanding, yet the underlying questions about Epstein's co-conspirators refuse to fade. Survivors and advocates watch these developments closely. Their bravery in prior testimonies helped bring details into view. Any perception of delays or selective focus stings deeply. The files have empowered some state-level actions and international scrutiny, but federal momentum on new charges draws the most attention. Speculation about why certain paths stalled includes resource allocation debates and legal hurdles from old agreements. Neutral phrasing in reports emphasizes verified facts while noting ongoing buzz around unconfirmed elements. This keeps the conversation alive without jumping to conclusions. Looking ahead, the Epstein story refuses to settle quietly. Congressional oversight, public releases, and persistent questions ensure it stays relevant. The Nadler-Bondi exchange served as a flashpoint, crystallizing frustrations on all sides. Whether it leads to renewed energy on investigations or remains mired in partisan back and forth will shape perceptions for years. For now, the millions of pages offer a window into a troubling world of influence and exploitation. They remind everyone that accountability matters, especially when the vulnerable seek justice against those who wield power. The hearing left